Hello again, guys, and welcome to a part 2 of sorts of my initial RWBY combat ready, uh, what's the proper word? Uh, Showcase, I believe it was. In my first video, I went over and I showed you everything that was in the game, but I hadn't read the rules yet, so I actually had no idea how to go and to play the game. But it's been a few weeks. Haven't got around to doing this part due to personal issues and Thanksgiving and all that. But now that we're here, this is what the game board looks like. It's pretty big. It covers the entirety of the little coffee table that I have right here. But I'm going to be showing off what a 4-player game would be like against Roman, using the 4 main members of Team RWBY, RWBY, Weiss, Blake, and Yang. And as for the objectives that are going to be here, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using Roman's Henchman, which is a minion deck, as you can see. A challenge objective as well, which is the Dust Heist. I have dust tokens covering the Heist logo. And a sub-boss against Neo. So, this is how the board looks. You have the hero, or the active player, in this case it's RWBY to start the game, and you have her little track, and I'll get to that in just a second. You go and you have Roman, and if you got the villain miniature figurines like I did, which you had to pay a little extra for, I'm just saying that in case people are wondering why they didn't get it, you get this little figurine that you put right here, and if you don't, you have this little cardboard token chip. You go and you keep that right there. I'm just going to leave both right here for the sake of time being. You got his little chart right there. This is the villain deck where you keep all of the villain stuff. Here is his health, the 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, etc. The 10 digits are here, and the smaller ones, the 1 digits, are right here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Any active speed bonuses that he gets or damage bonuses that he gets are displayed here as well. This is where you play the villain's attack. This is where you go and you add the player's attacks. For the sake of simplicity, I've just put the sub-decks and the objectives all down here. Excuse me, I dropped something. I have the player's decks all down here, and I have their experience points up here. The green is their experience tracker, and the red is their health tracker. I sometimes go and sub it out, the red health point tracker with a yellow one for Yang, or a blue one for Weiss, purple for Blake. I keep RWBY's red though, but this is how it's intended to be, and I messed up the thingy. There we go. And other than that, that's pretty much all that you need to know in order to go into be ready to go into play the game. Draw pile, discard pile, which is currently empty. And it appears that we're ready to go. You go and you start off the turn by playing any minions if they are in effect. So this one says that you take 3 henchman minions and you pull them out like so. And they're face down on the board. Neo also, as a sub-boss, takes 1 card and plays it face down on the board as well. And then Roman gets his attack ready. Now, sometimes you're able to, the way the rulebook is interpreted is a little loose here. I personally go and take the card and I place it face down in the revealed section, allowing you to see what his next attack is. But some people might go and play it like this, where you just wait until the villain is ready to attack and then you flip it without having it. But I just go and do it like this in case, and just as a little thing to go into, no, this is already the next attack that's loaded and ready to go. It saves a little bit of time and less brain power, in my opinion. Oh, and these are damage tokens over here. So, there are 3 different kinds of attacks in this game. For the villain, there are aggressive stances, which has the red background, which are usually very fast but deal low damage. Underneath this, we have a subtle attack, which has a purple background, which usually does a low damage, or low speed, excuse me, but the damage output and special effects that happen are higher, and balance, which is blue, is a mixture of the two. I don't really understand why that's the case, because blue and red make purple, but balanced is not purple. But not my place to go and judge that, just pointing that out. So his first attack is going to be usually a very high speed attack. And RWBY is currently the active player, so looking at her deck, you're able to go into play a number of different cards. Apologies for the sloppiness of my hand. It's hard to hold a huge deck of cards with only one hand, because I'm using the other to go into film all this. So let's just go and we'll do her fastest attack to go into coincide with this. You always want to go and play the attack that is the slowest that you think you can get away with, but for an aggressive attack, it's usually smart to play a faster attack. Your speed is located up here in the top right. This is effects that will happen if your attack hits, and down here is a spot for assists from other players as well. So I will go and I will set that down right there. And now, RWBY is locked and loaded. She is ready to engage Roman, but she is not the only player here. We have the three other sub-players, Weiss, Blake, and Yang. They get to go and they can either assist RWBY by playing another card, like let's say Blake, for instance. She has a 10 attack as well. She can play it face up like this to go and to do a combo attack, and if it hits, both of them will deal their damage equivalents, which is this little symbol right here. It will deal damage to the villain based off of how many points there are. Like, for instance, on this card, which is a 5 speed, there are 3 damage things, and then there's little boosts, and her effect is down there. But for right now, she's going to be doing this. You can also go and attack a henchman down here, which is what Weiss is going to do. She is going to play her impale thing, and it says that if this attack damages a minion, you must immediately destroy it. So I went over and I took the liberty of going in, what's it called? I know what all the cards are going to do in advance for the purposes of education, so I know what each one is. So I'm going to go and place Weiss right here, and the sub-boss is unique because with the minions, they only deal damage to the active player when the duel, I should say, ends. However, if you don't deal with the sub-boss immediately, right then and there, they will go and they will deal damage to the active player. So if Yang right here doesn't go and try to attack Neo, then things could be very bad for RWBY. So taking Yang's deck, sub-bosses only have aggressive and subtle stances, by the way. They do not have balance. That is the unique trait about them. Since it is a fast blow, let's have Yang use a 9, because that is a very high speed. So now that we've dealt with the cards being dealt, we are going to go and flip over Roman's card, because the villain always takes center stage first. It is a 9, and it says that if this attack damages the active player, the duel immediately ends. So if this was, if RWBY or Blake, for that matter, had 8 or lower, then Roman would not only deal damage, excuse the notification from the other note phone, they would go and the duel would immediately end. The tracks wouldn't move at all, nothing would happen. But in this case, the heroes went over and they won, so RWBY deals 1 damage to Roman, and Blake does 1 damage to Roman. This only affects if you are the active player, and this only affects if you are assisting, which isn't a damaging thing. It's where you take your card and place it on its side to go and to show that you are using it as an assist. But they would each damage Roman, so that means that he would take his life meter right here, and he would move it from 5 down to 3, and he would stay at 60. So he is now from 65 health to 63, And because RWBY went over and dealt 1 point of damage, she goes and she moves 1 space on the Fury chart. She does not move 2 spaces. This is a mistake that some beginners might make. The hero's Fury only is affected by if the card specifically says it goes, or by damage that only the main character does. So in this case, Blake, even though she dealt an additional point of damage, RWBY only moves 1 space because Blake is not the main character. Down here in the henchman area, if I flip over the captain, it says that he has 7 speed, Weiss has 8, so she outspeeds him, and normally would do 2 damage to his 4 health, but because Weiss can immediately impale an enemy and destroy it, this captain is gone. He is eliminated from the game. Until the deck runs out and you have to reshuffle. And over here, with Yang and Neo, we flip over Neo, and it shows that she has a speed of 7, and if her attack hit, the villain's next attack gets +1 speed. So, really good move for Neo, really good move for Roman if it hits, because then his next move is automatically that much faster. Yang has a 9, though, deals 1 damage. You take the little cube, whatever you want to call it, and you move it from 25 down to 24, or however much the health is. And that's that. I don't have a designated spot for Neo, so we'll just go and do that. So, because Blake and everyone else, RWBY, Weiss, Yang, since they all went over and did a successful action, hitting Roman or hitting Neo, taking out a villain, assisting the hero, whatever it may be, they all earn 1 experience. A mistake that I went over and made is that when experience is given out based on how much damage you did, just like Fury. That is not the case. You only ever get 1 point of experience. If RWBY dealt 100 damage, which is impossible, but hypothetically, if she did that, she would still only gain 1 experience point, because all actions automatically give 1 experience. So, with that out of the way, the next turn begins, and it would be basically the same thing over and over again. Roman would have a blue attack, which is going to be a little bit slower, but it can have a slightly more devastating effect. RWBY would go with, I don't know. Let me check my notes section over here. What is Roman's attack? It is that. So I will play, do I have a 7? No, I do not. I will play, I'll play a 4 as an example. And let's just say that everyone else went over and did their turn. And you would flip it over, and Roman's is a 7. He would deal 2 damage to RWBY, so this over here would get marked down by 2. And it says that if the attack deals damage, the player must discard a card. So in addition to RWBY being hit and not gaining any experience, she would have to take one of her additional cards and throw it in the trash, leaving her with less options. This would be a great victory for Roman because, I forgot to mention, after every round of the duel, the villain moves forward 1 space automatically. It doesn't matter if he hits, misses, clashes, whatever it is, he always moves forward. So after this, he moves forward farther, and RWBY is stuck in the dust. Different henchmen can have different abilities too. This one has the call ability. When he is revealed, you would draw and play another card. This one, you don't reveal it immediately, but I'm just showing it off. When this card is revealed, deal 2 damage to whoever attacked. So if Weiss went to go try to take this out, immediately, like that, doesn't matter what happens, Weiss would be taking 2 damage. And then we got this little guy over here. Overwhelm, this attack gains speed equal to the number of other minions in play. So he has 2 speed right now, +1, +2. He would have 4 speed if you were to go and do any calculations in attacking. Neo can go and she can do all kinds of crazy things. This is just a standard attack. There's no special effect that takes place. But these two, this one actually is another, just a quick strike. This one, disable. If this attack deals damage, exhaust the hero's semblance marker. Semblances are abilities that you use before attacks are revealed. They are basically each individual person's superpower. As we know, RWBY up here has her super speed. She gains +2 speed for any one of her attacks However, if she gets hit, because it's a reckless attack, she gains an additional damage. And each semblance, once you use it, you have to wait until the duel ends, when the villain gets to the bashing area on the chart, or the hero goes and uses their ultimate ability. That is when the semblance is refreshed. When everything is reset, the villain goes back to the start, and the new person would take the stage. In this case, it would be Weiss next, and RWBY would then become the next side player. Blake has the ability to basically have anyone who could potentially get hit gets a free pass. Weiss boosts speed, and also if you are successful in attacking, Weiss draws an extra card. Yang's is unique. It gives her +1 speed and damage, but it doesn't refresh like everyone else's does. It only refreshes whenever she takes damage. So if she were to get hit, then her semblance would immediately come back online, regardless of whether or not the villain had reset or not. Here's another subtle attack from Roman. This attack receives double the effects of Roman's speed bonuses, and he immediately gains a speed bonus at the end of the round. See, that's what I mean by subtle attacks can do different things. Apologies if I'm going through the information too fast. It's late. It's actually almost 4 o'clock in the morning. 3, I've lost track. And I'm going to be blunt, I'm tired. So I figured I'd go and try to get this out of the way as quickly as possible. So let's say that you go and you earn enough fury in order to get to the ultimate section. This is when you're able to go and to play your ultimate card. It goes and it works differently. You earn experience based off of what the card says, not just the normal one you would gain. You do very high amounts of damage, as shown on the side. It interrupts whatever the villain does, so the villain's next card in this case would be Roman. He would be playing this card, which would daze you if you were to get hit. If Weiss were to have played this, it says whatever this is, doesn't matter. I played my ultimate, therefore you get hit. And that is a great ability. But you can only play it once your fury gets up into the ultimate range. You don't have to immediately use it. You can go in if you want to keep going farther to gain bonus experience or damage bonuses based on how much you can deal to the villain. Perfectly able to. And then once the round ends and you're in between and you're switching it out, so Weiss would come back and then Blake would be put in the Fury section. During this process, as everything gets reset, you have the ability to go and to pay experience points to go into upgraded cards. Now I'll go and I'll use Yang's deck as an example over here. The experience cost is printed down here, and it is a tier 2, this one. You can go all the way up to tier 4, and there are tier 3s as well. You can upgrade your ultimate. That is not what I wanted. Where did it go? Hello? There we go. Here's an upgraded ultimate. These usually cost more than a standard card. Standard tier 2 is usually 5. This is 10. Costs more because it does more. But at least getting your ultimate up to level 2 is something that I would recommend to beginners at the beginning of the game. Basically what you do is you, whatever the cost of the card, going back to the original example I used, it was 5. You would then go, and let's say Yang had 14, she would spend 5 and go back down to 9. That's 8, not 9. There we go. And then you would take a card from your hand, and you go and you take it, and you exclude it from the game. You don't put it back in a discard pile, nothing. You don't put it back in the drop pile. It's gone. This card that you are upgrading completely and utterly replaces it, if it is a tier 1 card. If you are, let's say, get over here again. If you want to go in to get a tier 3 card that costs 7, Yang would have 9, so let's take her back down to 2. Then you would have to pick a tier 2 card to swap out. You can't buy a tier 3 and then get rid of a tier 1. You have to buy a tier 3 and have a tier 2 to get rid of. You would get rid of this, but this would go back into your buying pile, so that way you would go and you can potentially rebuy that card and sub it for another tier 1 later on down the line. I'm saying a lot, aren't I? Apologies. You go and you earn experience on the objectives based off of what happens. So you defeat the villain. Once you take out Roman, then you earn the experience. You don't do it when the pile runs out. When it runs out, you reshuffle everything back again. This is defeat the villain. This is defeat Neo herself. So when Neo's health reaches all the way to 0, then everyone would immediately gain 4 experience points. And I think that's about it. There isn't really much else that I can think of that can do anything. The Dust Heist is a challenge. It only activates whenever the active player is hit by the villain or you bash the enemy. Bashing is resetting the board back to the beginning. There is one more thing about the villains that some people might want to know. It is about these green cards called events. When this happens, you are able to go, and some cards say that you can immediately discard the top card of the deck, and depending on if you go and play with the card, the top card being here or here, it can affect on whether or not you can discard events. I personally say that you can, because these events are very difficult for the players, but I can completely understand if some people don't want to do that. It's just a house rule that I have. It's not set in stone. This event would be whenever Roman plays an aggressive attack, so one of the cards that have red backs like Neo here, you gain +1 speed bonus after the attack lands at the end of the round. So let's say Roman's right here and he goes and he plays an aggressive attack. He would then move here, and at the same time he would take his speed bonus and he would move it forward to the +1. Therefore, this attack, which is subtle, would have 2, but it would actually be 3 because of the +1 speed bonus. And events are permanent. You don't immediately discard them. You would place them separately, like on the top of the board, to remind everyone that this is in play. There are all kinds of things that you can go and can do with events. I know that Cinder has one where you can't heal. That's right, I should probably go over healing as well. You don't, when you're a sideline player, you don't have to play a card. You can choose to instead draw a card, and you heal 1 aura for doing so. This is basically just saying that you want to go and either bring your health back up, or if your deck is running really low or you're out of cards, you just go and draw another card, and that's that. RWBY's Ultimate allows you to go and to have 7 cards in your hand. I'm not sure if... that's very out of focus. Next duel, RWBY may draw up to 7 cards without discarding. Normally, you can only have 6 at the beginning of a duel, but I don't think there's a limit during a duel. So let's say you are in the middle of a fight and you immediately want to rest because you're already hurt. I don't think there's a penalty for Yang to have 7 or 8 different cards, as long as at the end, transitioning to the next round, you have 6 again. So that, I believe, summarizes it up pretty well. I play this game a lot. I love it, and I believe it was worth every dollar spent. These figurines that we get are very detailed, and they're color coordinated, so you can always keep track of who's who. I go and I love all the little colored cubes. I actually wish there were way more of these things, especially colors like blue and purple, because there's only a few that come with it. You don't need them, but I wish that it came with more, but that's just a personal nitpick. Yeah, this is the game. To those in Europe who haven't got it yet, I hope I was informative and showed you how you're supposed to play this and what things you're supposed to do, how battles go. The villain can very easily go and break ahead. If you are playing with someone like Adam or Cinder, it's highly recommended that you don't have just the starter deck that you have with the black borders. You want to go into have yellow bordered cards too. So fight Roman, and then the experience and cards that you earn, carry it over to the next fight that you would have with Adam. That way it would go a lot smoother. I tried fighting Adam with just the black cards at the start. I got absolutely destroyed. I didn't even do 20 damage to him, and that was with me controlling everyone and making sure that everyone was on the same page to test out how he played. He is ruthless, and with Cinder, I learned from that mistake, and I tested her out as well before I took this over to friends, and she gave all of the people really powerful cards and still only barely took her out. So, hope you guys can learn from my mistakes and this informational video. If you want me to go and do stuff for other games, there's a few over here that I have. I know that this isn't exactly the best quality. It's just a weird guy talking on his iPhone and waving the phone everywhere and saying a million times. But these are a few other games that I go and play way more frequently. I've had them a lot longer than this one. Versus System is my favorite. DC deck building game and Legendary are also amazing games. I'd love to go and show you guys how these are played if you're interested. So I believe I will go and let you guys go and get on with your day. I will be posting this to the Kickstarter webpage, so you probably saw it from there. And that's it. I guess I will see you guys later. See ya.